Take a look at this Dilbert cartoon. Dilbert says that we know mass creates gravity because dense planets have more gravity. His dog then asks, how do we know which planets are more dense? To which Dilbert replies, they have more gravity. So his argument is, since denser planets have more gravity, we can tell which planets are more dense by their gravity. And his dog correctly notes that the reasoning is viciously circular, although Dilbert prefers a different explanation. Here's another example. A man's wife tells him that she knows what's causing his insomnia. He's lying in bed awake all night. This is a case of conceptual circularity as opposed to formal circularity. The concept of insomnia includes the concept of being unable to sleep. Let's summarize what we've discovered so far concerning question begging. First, an argument begs the question if and only if the acceptance of any premise in the argument depends upon the prior acceptance of the conclusion. Second, in an argument that begs the question, any premise that presumes the truth of the conclusion can't really be grounds for support. Finally, since such an argument fails to provide legitimate justification for its conclusion, it is said to beg rather than support its conclusion, which is the very claim, or as we can also say, question, that the argument was supposed to justify. Let me use an analogy to explain question begging. Think of the magician who pulls a rabbit out of a hat. How does he manage to do this? Only by placing the rabbit in the hat first. Now think about begging the question. We are able to arrive at a particular conclusion only because we first concealed it in the premises. When would one use the phrase, that begs the question? You'd use this as a reply to an argument in which the conclusion is being used to prove itself. We should note one other thing. The phrase, that begs the question, is hugely misused. When you hear a television journalist say something like, the money missing from the office begs the question, who took it? That journalist is using the phrase to mean demands the question rather than the logical sense of begging the question. Remember, the logical sense of begging the question is very specific. It means nothing more than presuming the conclusion in the premises. This concludes this segment of a multi-part lecture on fallacies of presumption. Please proceed to the next segment.